couple of times it's on the other. Was it recently? I believe 6 months. I was on there when
Well, she said she submitted it.
I'm just kidding.
Like what you need.
Well, I was afraid when I opened it, I was like, hope I don't eat somebody else's. But then I was thinking you're probably the last one. You didn't even get it until.
Yeah.
I don't like clean.
He trained you. He trained you to eat. About 30 minutes without eating. I'm like that for dinner. I can go, but dinner.
Yes, he sounded so good. I'm still proud of him.
Yeah.
Like he's like,
I'm so proud of him.
yeah.
Our boys are sorry. Our boys are great. Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone to our budget workshop, our city council budget workshop. It is August 11th. It is 10 a.m. At this time, I will call our meeting to order. I will also do our roll call to certify quorum. As I call your name, if you don't mind answering with present or here. Mr. Pete Chris,
Here.
Mr. Molina,
Here.
Mr. Barr,
Here.
Mrs. Bowen, present. Okay, let the record reflect that we do have quorum. And we will move on to our agenda item 2, which is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. And Mr. Burke, if you don't mind, leading us in the pledge. And we will welcome Father Chris Becerra from St. Joseph's Catholic Church to lead us in our invocation. Welcome. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Most providential God, we give you thanks for all the good gifts you bestow upon us each day, also for the great gift that we find in our city. We give you thanks for allowing us to find a perfect place to live, that we might find peace, that we pursue happiness. And as such, we ask that you grant us wisdom so we may be good stewards of all the good gifts you have given us, that as we contribute of our treasure, our time, and our talent to further the cause of our city and its citizens, our brothers and sisters, we ask that you grant us wisdom to make good choices, to always be faithful to the trust they have commanded upon us, so that we may respond faithfully. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.
Please face the flag, hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to agenda item number 3, which is public comments. At this time, I don't have any citizen comments before me, so we'll move on to our city council comments. I'll begin with Mrs. Bowen.
None today, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Burke.
None.
Mr. Molina.
I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Crisp.
Yes, just one thing. Tomorrow is the end of our Community Thrives, the fundraising program that we have in place for the library. We're very short of our goal of $3,000, and I would hope that the community would fire it up over the next day and a half, 2 days. It ends tomorrow at 9, so, you know, as staff, as community members, as council, I think we need to really reach out, because if we can hit the $3,000 mark, it'll turn into $13,000 for our library and the programs that we have there. So we really need to hit that. Don't get me wrong, we're still gonna get the monies we have now, even if we don't hit it. But if we can hit 3,000, we make 13. So we really need to do that as a community, as a council, as staff. You know, reach out to whoever you can. I'm not saying that y'all have to donate again or donate more, because a lot of our staff has come through. What I'm saying is reach out to your friends and family in the community, and you know, $5 helps, and that's the minimum. The minimum donation is $5, and we'll be more than willing to accept that as well. So reach out to the community, and let's try to hit that goal. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kress. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Those that have donated, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I know it's hard, so thank y'all. Mr. Esparza. You would- nothing? All right, so we will move on to our individual, agenda item number 4, individual consideration, 4.1. Review and discussion of the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year revised City of Alice budget and 2022 to 2023 fiscal year proposed City of Alice budget. Okay,
Mayor and Council, so what we'll do today is we'll look at 5 enterprise funds, the solid waste, utility, airport, golf course, and multi-use. And then scheduling a third budget meeting on the 18th of next week, and that'll cover debt service, hotel occupancy, capital improvements, and then recaps on the summaries, and then and that'll be hopefully our final budget meeting. So we just wanted to get right into it, and then if you guys would turn to page 83 of your budget book, that's going to be the solid waste fund. And I wanted to start off before finance goes through some the detail sheets, just to point something out here. And initially, when you're looking at this, and really, if you turn to 83, some of this similar number, I'm going to turn to 84 on the summary of revenue and expenditures, and we notice the beginning fund balance is in the negative, in the tune of, you know, starting on 2021, $3.2 million. 4.4 was adopted, revised, we're a negative 4.4 again. And beginning fund balance showing here is 4.9 million in the negative. However, if you recall, during the audit, they changed some things on us, and so we have a post-closure fund for the landfill, and they have assigned a closure cost of $8.4 million. And there's a formula that's done by, that they use on that. That's Robert can probably explain on how that works, but there's a formula that's used that the auditors will put in there, and that gives us a number. Now it shows up as an expense, and it shows up on a balance sheet, but in turn, it's going to offset our number by quite a bit of money. But the proposed budget, when you take that out, we do have cash reserves in the $3.4 million and receivables of 1.1. So when you look at what we truly have, this deficit on 2023 on the proposal is $320,000 on a deficit, not necessarily 4.9 million. I question on whether they should be assigning that on in that sense, because it throws us off quite a bit. I mean, that's a liability that we're going to have in the future whenever it's closed. We're not expending that money now, but it's showing up as hard number on our balance sheet. And so if you when we incorporate this summary here is 2 things in one. I mean, it's our income statement on the top, but then it also is a portion of a balance sheet because it shows you the fund balances. And we take that from our audit too, to make sure that you guys know what our fund balances are. So while that's alarming on paper, that's not a true number. It's an estimate based off an estimate of post-closure. So that's just something to consider, as we're looking at it. Nonetheless, it's still, because of the expenses that we've had over the, and Robert's gonna talk about those, this past year on equipment and things of that sort. It still is in a deficit of $320,000, but not the $4.9 million it has to show on paper.
Mr. Esparza, on the post-closure, how far out do you anticipate that being a true expense? Because it's going to happen, but do you have a forecasted time frame for that?
Well, we were talking about that as recent as this morning. I mean, we could go another 20 years on the post-closure, because now we don't have necessarily that much complete life on the cells that we have. But we do plan on combining those with a permit modification to try to increase the valleys and have more life there. And so once we do that, I mean, that'll push us out. Now, we're still gonna have to build a new cell for ongoing, but we'll be able to have two different places, and that prolongs the life of that cell. But it's not gonna be our only, the combined cells, it's not gonna be our only landfill location. It'll be the new landfill that we're gonna be doing. So, because we were talking about that, when are we gonna need to spend that $8 million? It could be 20 years from now.
Okay.
But there's a number assigned.
20 plus.
Yeah. And I think, on how this is the auditor that we have this year, that this last 3 years that put this in there this way.
Yes.
It almost seems like it should be different. I mean, this is a liability that we don't, we know we're gonna have. Now we have money set aside on post-closure fund of $1.2 million. And it's not the 8 million, but we have time to start building that up. So should it be labeled more in the lines of a sinking fund that allows you to account for that yearly? That way it won't be so off on a balance sheet. There's some things that I think that we need to really look at that on how we're gonna account for it. And, the auditor put that in there, and we're okay with that, but, we'll have some questions moving
Sure.
on.
And as far as the new cell, cost-wise, is that in here? For the new cell?
It's in the landfill development fund. It'll be in the capital improvement funds. We'll discuss that one next
Okay,
week.
when we get there. Okay. Well, great, thank you. Okay.
Robert, do you want to just mention briefly about the calculations that they use whenever they're coming up with a closure
This is
cost?
something that comes from TCEQ themselves. It has to do with the life expectancy versus how much more usable space we have and it includes an inflation factor. So it's a little bit more complicated than me just standing up here and saying, well, it's X plus Y plus Z, but it's something that comes down from them. We forward it to our auditors and they come up with that number for us.
Do I have any questions right now? Mr. Chris?
On that, I just look to say that, in future budgeting process and accounting, we do try to separate that out. It's very understandable when you sit here and you're looking at it, but I'm sure when somebody requests the budget or sees this portion of it and they see that we're 5 million in the arrears, it takes more than a 2-minute description from Michael to actually clear that up with the people who aren't actually a part of it already. So, I think that we need to figure out a better way to actually report it, even if it's its own fund, like you said, or something like that. So.
Mr. Medina?
No.
Mr. Bear?
Yeah, Robert, I have just a general question in regards to landfill usage and rates. And I'm not talking about residential valves. I'm talking about non-resident, especially commercial. How much usage does that bring in?
Does somebody else bring in?
Yeah, and have those rates been looked at?
Yes.
Are they competitive? Are they too low?
Actually, we are somewhat competitive. We want to keep them at a higher rate than our surrounding landfills. There's only 4 landfills in our region. So what we need to do is make sure that we have a landfill for the citizens of Alice. Our responsibility is, of course, first to our community. So if we have somebody coming from, say, Duval County, Webb County, we want them to pay a higher premium so that we can make sure we have some monies available to build our next cell.
Right.
Before we built Cell F, we had done a study of surrounding areas. Webb County was at $200 per cubic yard, per ton, from anything coming outside of the city limits of Laredo. So at $70, we are highly competitive compared to some of the other areas. When we raised our rates, some of the surrounding landfills also came up because they took a look at what they were doing compared to what we did. And that cost is based on how much available use, how much tonnage is coming in, how many people you need to manage that tonnage, and there is something in our site operating plan that says if we take in 300 tons a day, then we need to have additional equipment. So all of that is a factor that needs to be looked at. It's not just you have 10 people, so, you ought to be able to manage it. No. It's based on what we told TCEQ that we would do. So we are competitive, but not to the point where we want to bring in additional revenues or additional tonnage. If we bring in additional tonnage, we run out of space faster, which is one of those cutthroat kind of things. We want to find a good balance and remember that we need to do what we need to do for our citizens.
Right.
You're welcome. Mrs. Bellin?
No, thank you.
And I apologize, it's a little bit off, but I thought it was important to have
No, that's,
some of that. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Thank you for answering those questions. Okay.
Okay, we can start with the revenue for solid waste, and you will notice an increase. This was because we proposed an increase on the residential garbage from, currently it's at $15.50, and we proposed it to be increased to $18.50.
And to give you an idea, as we've been looking at the numbers and the true cost of what it costs to, or what we charge for that garbage can pickup, from the removal, the transportation, the disposal, we're at $1.79. So every time we go out there, that's what we're charging our customer, is $1.79 to get that, dump it, take it at a lump, and dispose of it. And that's pretty low. And so what we were looking at is moving it to $2.13 to also help offset the cost that we've had. Most of it is on the residential side,
right.
on the equipment that we're needing. But we're that's included. That's what's given us an increase in revenue on this fund also. But even with that, still at a deficit on the fund end balance. But as we were talking about during the financials, how are we going to offset the repairs and the equipment that we're having and the rentals that we're having, and this is part of the way that we're going to offset that. So this revenue does include that increase from the $1.79 per pickup to $2.13.
Okay, thank you. I was going to ask, where do we get that extra? Okay, thank you.
And you were mentioning on the commercial also, Robert, you were looking at the commercial side that we
Yes,
haven't incorporated yet because we were busy working on the residential where a lot of the costs are
Right.
incurred.
We will probably do an increase on the commercial side, commensurate with the price increase here. We break it down to about $6.30 per cubic yard per pickup on the commercial side. So that might come up, in direct proportion to the residents.
Okay. On page 88, we have the solid waste general service. This is where we pick up for the fund the bank charges, the insurance for this fund, and then we did have a little bit of electricity. Again, that was that winter storm recovery charge.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
Sorry, I was running some math first. No, I did not have any questions.
Mr. Molina?
No question.
Mr. Burke?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
I just have one question. On the page 87, on the landfill tipping fee, can you explain that a little bit? And then as to why we went down a little versus?
Oh, okay. The landfill tipping fee is the cost for someone to bring trash out to our landfill.
Oh, okay.
So the tipping fee mostly applies to your commercial side, to the resident that is bringing out construction materials. And the reason it went down is we lost a lot of our bigger businesses, so we're not taking in as much.
Okay.
The construction side is lower. We really don't have a lot of trash coming in as far as compared to pre-2018. 2018, we were doing almost 200 tons a day. We're at about 50% of that right now.
Okay,
So that's going to fluctuate.
thank you. I appreciate
And I
that.
was like, what? Because I had that call from TCEQ also, hey, why did your tons go down all of a sudden?
Thank you, I appreciate it. Council, any other questions on this? No?
When's the last, I'm sorry, I'm gonna back it up
That's
a
okay.
little bit. When is the last time we did go up on our rates? It's been a while.
I think it was 2015.
15?
And
I
it
think
was
we did the adjustment.
Outside city limits, I think, right?
Outside city limits also, but and I think in 15 is when we, Robert, is that when we?
Yes, we
Did our
actually did
study.
a rate study
Yeah.
comparable to what we were spending, what it was costing us. That tipping fee is an actual cost at that point, based on equipment, fuel usage, personnel issues, personal cost, any other professional services, everything was based off of that. We weren't supposed to be making a lot of money, we were supposed to be able to break even plus.
Thank you.
Just be in the black. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, on page 89, we have the Sanitation Collection, which is the collection of brush and garbage. We have the same amount of employees. On page 90, let me see, there is a little bit of an increase. We did include some extra help, and Mr. Guetta has been getting some, a retiree, correct, to come and help with some of
Yes.
the, with some, I guess, I don't know what it was.
And there's a reason for that. During these times where, you might have a person out for 10 days due to the COVID disease, then we need to have somebody able to continue to operate
come
that
step
vehicle.
You'll also notice an increase in the fuel. Again, this was the revised, we were kind of shooting for the worst. We weren't too sure, but we lowered it for the proposed with the intention of having the gas pumps. You'll also notice towards the bottom, the minor equipment, small tools, proposed is 2,000, whereas the 2022 budget had 70,000. We just moved it to the rollout dumpster supplies. That's mainly where we bought it,
I was
so we
gonna
kind of
ask.
just moved it.
Okay.
The vehicle repair maintenance services, we did go up 50,000 compared to the 2022 budget. Repairs have been expensive, but we should have another truck. We should have one truck coming in and another one on order, correct?
We should, well, depends on what is approved this year.
You'll also notice on the revised budget, 20,000 for equipment hire and rentals. This was a Peterbilt rental, mainly for the residential, correct?
Yes.
And the next page, it's no real changes on there.
Council, any questions on this? Mrs. Bowen?
No, I think I'm okay. Thank you.
Mr. Burke?
Yeah, just a quick one on page 90. Roll out dumpster supplies, that number jumped quite a bit. Is there a particular reason or? is it just-
It was more a financial thing. It moved from one line item to another.
Okay.
Rollout and dumpster supplies includes anything from the dumpsters themselves to additional lids for repairs, wheels for your residential containers, anything having to do with those things, including decals that go into commercial containers.
Mr. Molina?
No, just-
Mr. Chris?
I know that the proposed that you have coming up down the line is gonna have for 2 vehicles. Are we decommissioning anything there that
Yes.
is why we're gonna be removing some of our maintenance costs? Because older equipment costs more to keep moving
Yes,
around.
definitely. We do have one that we're technically going to be using for parts.
Okay.
We don't want to put it out in service anymore. The body itself leaks, so we don't want to be throwing trash down the middle of your street as we're picking up your trash. So that's going to be going out irregardless if we get one or not. We'll have to find some other way to get it done. But that truck needs to be out of service, period. Along with our 1988. No more. It's not going out there.
It's done its time.
It's done its time.
Yeah.
Got
All
here,
right.
when I got here, we were leaving together.
Wait, you said you were
No,
about to
no.
decommission it.
Taking it home,
got that.
I'm gonna.
Oh, okay, I was
refurbish
gonna say, yeah, I was like, hold up, then are we gonna keep it in service?
it. You'll keep me in service.
Yeah, that's the plan. All right, thank you.
Thank you for catching that.
We need to put a budget item for maintenance for you.
Yeah.
Maintenance for you? Personal maintenance?
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, next we have the recycling center. There's no employee in this department. I believe someone from the landfill comes in and fills in.
Well, and actually, it was integrated into the landfill budget itself. We've been manning it through personnel from the sanitation department, and on those Wednesdays when we don't have a garbage round. So we're able to keep that man fully staffed that day.
Council, any questions on those, or do you have anything else, Vanessa? I'm sorry.
No, there's
go
not
through?
too much to this department,
No, okay.
really. Just some
Council?
equipment, services, and,
Not yet.
yeah.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Parker?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
And I just wanted to ask, Mr. Esparza, I know we're kind of looking at something, so is that something that would change here, or would need to be incorporated, or?
Oh, on the recycling part?
Yeah.
There may be something,
Yeah.
but
It would be pretty.
it's going to be a
small.
couple of months down the road. We'll see how
Okay.
it works out first,
Okay,
and then we can discuss whether we can do something like a part-time temporary position, or, try to get somebody to volunteer more than,
then have an actual expense. or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been looking at a recycling program that the gentleman's made some presentations to us, and yeah, the cost wouldn't be a whole lot to us, and so it would be something we could absorb pretty easily. And so we've gone back and forth through several times, but it'll be coming up, here pretty shortly. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next we have the landfill, same amount of employees. There is an increase on fuel again, just a little bit. Another increase we had was on facility repair maintenance supplies. We increased it from 3,000 to 10,000, and revised actually went up to 25,000, and that was for tarps.
Yes.
And then,
alternative daily cover.
we also have an increase on revised on equipment repair maintenance services. Again, this was a lot of repairs.
Yeah.
The heavier the equipment, the more expensive it is to keep it running. But the cost of repairing versus a replacement is minimal, percentage-wise.
We did increase also the facility repair maintenance services from 10,000 this year to 25,000 next year. And then you'll notice on equipment hire and rentals, the revised was 185,000 that we budgeted. That was for a wheel loader, scraper, and a dump truck. And we're looking at some of those items for the scraper for sure to get
Yes.
that purchased.
Correct.
And we're hoping to get some of that equipment, so we won't have that cost. And,
Sorry.
on page 96, the engineering expenses, we increased that also, and that's some periodic methane monitoring.
Methane, and we have more groundwater wells, so that takes more monitoring in itself. It's twice a year, some go into assessment or detection, but since you have more, it's going to be an additional cost per well.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
Yes. Again, we're looking at the drop from this year to next year in the repairs and maintenance, but you also completely dropped off equipment hire and rentals. I mean, do we realistically see us getting that equipment replaced from the point where we approve the budget to the point where we're actually in our new fiscal year?
Some of the items that we had to rent were a front loader and a truck. Okay. The truck itself was an articulating dump truck, which is like a mining truck. Our scraper, the one that the city owns, went down for repairs, major repairs. So we had to have something to move dirt with on a continuous basis. About the same time, our loader was also down for, it went for a regular PM, and we discovered this, that, and the other thing, so it took extra time. We have since transferred in some of the equipment that some of the other departments are not going to be using. We've placed repairs on them to keep them active within the landfill. Our scraper itself is ready. They're going to bring it in. We have a rental scraper on site. That rental scraper is the one that we're trying to purchase, because since we've already rented it for an extended amount of time, we may be able to purchase it at a discount. So we're going to be keeping some of the used equipment as our backups instead of having to pay for rental fees, which are quite large. We're hoping to get a good discount on this piece of rental equipment that we currently have. Simply because, like I said, we've had it for a while, and it's also the last one in the Caterpillar fleet that's already in place. There are no more rentals. There's nothing being built until we order. So if we break down, we're out. So this purchase would make sense to us if the price is good to us.
And I know that in the oil field, when you're doing that and through construction, a lot of the maintenance and everything is managed by them in the past, and
Yes.
and it's kept up to date. So by you saying that we're buying this used piece of equipment, it's been thoroughly maintained, it's been everything because of
Correct.
the
It's
program.
still theirs.
Yeah, because it's still theirs, and they want to be able to get back something that's
And
worth
of
the
course,
darn.
if we would purchase something like a 2-year maintenance plan with it, so that
So
we're not going to fall off on that.
So logistically, yes, we can't completely drop off the rental because we're looking at purchasing
Yes.
it right out, almost immediately. Okay, good, because that was a big number. Now, the $15,000 increase for facility maintenance and repair, and that was the jump up where we're looking at actually kind of fixing up.
Overall, we do need to keep ourselves looking neat and clean and everything in operation. Between signage, fencing, everything needs to be up to date. Last year in itself, we had gates busted through twice. We had fences torn down twice with people trying to either break in and steal items or bailouts or anything like that. So we have to make those repairs.
Okay. All right, that was it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Molina?
I just had one comment. The engineering services, I don't have a problem with the number. What is that? I mean, who are we paying that to?
Well, we have 2 different engineering services out there. AARC is doing our stormwater permitting and inspections, and Hanson Engineering is doing the rest of it, the actual cell construction, the groundwater monitoring, and then they just do the monitoring themselves. We pay somebody else to do the analysis.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where you have to pay somebody else to pay somebody else to do, to keep in compliance with any regulations.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, Pete already took care of it.
I just have one question on the salary and wages. In the past, we added one person, or had we added people? We have the same amount, but did we?
Our recycling center operator became our scale house clerk,
Okay,
because our scale house clerk retired after 22 years.
okay.
And since she did have a background in clerical, it made sense to take this person from here to there.
Just wanted to. Thank you.
On page 97, you'll see the interfund transfers. We have a transfer to the general fund, we lowered that a little bit. There is an increase to the transfer to debt service, but this increase will cover all of this fund's debt. There's also a transfer to the landfill post-closure fund, which is kind of what we were discussing earlier.
Okay.
We did lower that one just a little bit, just to make sure we had enough for everything else, but
Okay, council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
Good.
Mrs. Bowen? On page 104, water tower space rental, what's that?
oh, okay, we want to start with utility
Oh,
fund?
Did I?
Well,
Skip
thank
it
you, Mayor.
again?
No, it's okay, we,
Thank you,
that
I
brother.
got
was
ahead of
ready.
myself, I'm
I was
sorry.
ready.
Mr. Guerra.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
So on the
I
utility
saw
fund.
Mr. Guerra, he shakes his head. He's like, there she goes again.
on the-
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. The utility fund, the revenues are on page 104. One of the new revenue streams that we have is disposal services, so you will see an increase there. That is the main increase for the utility fund. There's also an increase on penalty revenue. We did reduce the water revenue just a little, we did reduce it a good amount, just based on usage. And I think that's it.
Mr. Crisp, any questions?
No.
Mr. Molina?
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was that, disposal services, that increase?
That's for that new contract that y'all
With the
agreed to.
wastewater.
I
Wastewater
didn't hear
disposal.
that. Okay, thank you, sir.
And revised is only a part of the year, so
Right.
that's why it's.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowman? No, not at this time. Okay.
Okay, the next, or the first department we have is the utility billing department. There is not much of a change on this department. We have their salaries, their office supplies. They do share the cost of the software maintenance agreement with the finance department for our software, so you'll notice that amount at the bottom. But there's not too much to their department.
Okay. Council, any questions? on that?
No. I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
All right.
Next, we have the metering department. It's the same amount of employees. We did increase a little bit their fuel, their meter repair maintenance supplies. We gave them some more money. They needed to order some more items, I believe like barrel locks and items like that. We did increase their vehicle repair maintenance services by a little bit. They do have some older vehicles as well. And their cell phone service did increase a little bit also. We did go to a new provider, so I'm just thinking it's the service. And I'm not sure if we gave some of you guys cell phones. Now they all,
I believe they all have one. I think prior to it was just the meter reader supervisor and then the one who was on service on call. But I believe they all have cell phones now so that they can contact them when they're in the field. If they need extra help, they can pull them.
Council, any questions? on this?
I'm okay.
Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm
Okay. And Mr. Burke?
Yep.
Okay, Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Okay. On page 109, this is the general service for the utility fund. So this is similar to solid waste, so it really only has the bank charges, the insurance, and this does have the electricity for that winter storm recovery. But you'll notice it goes down, again, like I said, we'll be done paying December of 2022. There's also some debt service towards the bottom, and this is for the payment of the new meters. So last year it was, or this year, current year, we were only paying interest, and next year it will be principal plus interest. So
Okay.
you'll see that increase.
Okay. Council, any questions on this? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm okay, thank you.
Mr. Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Y'all mentioned the meters. I know that we had some left, Mr. Esparza. Do we still have some of those, or will we get
You mean from the performance services?
whatever it was? I don't know what company.
The project, you mean the swamp out?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the project is complete. We're waiting on a few items that we're gonna install ourselves, but the project
Okay.
is.
But we're
yeah.
gonna utilize all
Correct.
those that are, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Next, we have the water production. This does include an increase. This was some of the employees that we brought to council maybe about a month or two ago. So we did include one operator, one lead operator. Well, we made one operator into a lead operator, and then we added 2 water quality relief operators. So you'll notice that increase on the salaries. We also had an increase on laboratory testing supplies. And we also increased the equipment repair maintenance services. You'll also notice an increase on the internet. I believe they also had G-Tech, and now they are with Spectrum. And the other thing you may notice is under other professional, we zeroed that out, but we moved that to the professional services.
Council, any questions on this? Mrs. Bowen?
No, not at this time.
Mr. Burke? Mr. Molina?
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Chris?
I may have missed it while I was looking at other stuff here, but the facility maintenance and repairs jumped up to 25, and then we're bringing it back down to 10. What was the reasoning for that big jump? I may have missed it. You may have said something.
I didn't, but let me see, I don't quite remember.
And I mean, and when you consider the facility, that's not really that giant of a jump for that facility, but
Right.
just curious, because we're going back down to 10. I want to make sure it's not a lingering effect. Which is still more than we budgeted last year. I mean, y'all can get back to me on
Okay,
that.
sorry,
It's
we're
not that
trying
big
to-
of a deal because it's not a, it's relatively not a huge number, but just curious that we're not going to be seeing something like that again, hitting us again.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. I noticed also the increase in testing supplies is we're expecting that to linger on,
He, let me see.
because it jumped up to
Yes.
32 and now we're maintaining it at 32.
Yes, he did expect that to
Yes, we do
increase.
with the continuous process control that we've been doing for the past several years, and then with the quality process employees that we've got on board, it's just going to be more and more testing that we're going to be doing.
Okay, good.
Okay.
To make sure that the water gets out there better, or gets treated better.
Okay, next we have Maintenance and Construction Department. I'm sure you noticed a decrease on the extra help. We went from 375 to 175. And this was due to some grants that we have, and we're hoping to make them employees so that the grant will reimburse us for their labor. So
I'm
we'll still
sorry.
have them, but they'll be recorded somewhere else with this grant.
What page are you on?
On page
114.
14? Okay. Okay, got it. I was like, I
You'll
think I
also
flipped
notice
ahead
the
of y'all. I'm sorry.
The utility charge-out expenses, we did decrease that from 185,000 to 100,000. That's due to, we plan on using a lot of the ARP funds to do a lot of the water lines and wastewater lines.
Okay.
And I believe that's it for this department.
Council, any questions? Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr. Moody? Mr. Chris?
No, I think I'm good for right now, thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have the wastewater treatment plant. There was also an increase on the personnel. This was also the 2 operators that we added that we brought to council about a month or 2 ago. We also, let me see. You'll notice the decrease on facility repair maintenance supplies. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe they wanted to take some of that to the AWA for them to cover some of the items. Equipment hire and rentals, we did have an increase there. It's for the sludge and for the leasing of 2 units. And on the next page, on page 118, you'll notice that we moved the other professional to the state fees TCEQ. So we zeroed out other professional, but we added the amount to the state fees TCEQ. You'll also notice we had an increase on environmental testing sampling. With this new services, they were planning on more testing. So they just increased the amount to make sure that they had enough for supplies and to be sending them off.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen?
Yes, I just have one on, can you explain subscriptions? They went up to 713.
Subscriptions is more than likely the Microsoft Office 365, and we did a reallocation, so it increased.
Okay.
There might be more people using that.
Oh, I see.
More, this is the cloud, so the email service, so we probably have more employees that, actually it would, yeah, we have more employees that have
That's the
email
reason.
service, so we've done a reallocation to.
Okay, thank you.
That'd
I
be
need,
it.
that's it, I'm so sorry. That's okay. Any other questions, Ms. Bowen?
No, we're
No.
good, thank you.
I have a question, just, I noticed like from 20 to 2021, and then now current, you might have already mentioned, I know we're gonna do more testing and stuff, but it's like a lot more. Can you explain that a little bit, or let us know, just,
That's the extra testing that we're doing for one customer that we picked up.
oh,
The
I got
additional
it.
revenue.
Ah, okay, I
It's
know
covered.
which one.
Reduction for next year because of the
Okay.
positive results that we're getting.
Okay.
And in this case, positive, I mean, this.
Not positive.
I was gonna say, wastewater is like,
Wait a minute, I got nervous. I was like,
that's funny.
Thank you.
Okay. The Next department we have in the utility fund is special projects. There's just a slight increase in this department. We increased their fuel. We increased their equipment repair maintenance services as well. But other than that, there wasn't too much.
Council, any questions on this? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm good for now.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
I wanted to ask on the, maybe you answered this already, but AWA contractual debt payment,
Oh, okay.
can you tell me again what that is?
So, on page 121, on the transfers out, the AWA contractual debt payment, AWA has one bond, and the city of Alice pays for half of that bond payment. So that is the city's portion.
Okay. Do you have the number for that bond or no?
That bond, the bond payment
The-
amount,
or
or?
the- what is it? What's it called or?
We just refinanced it on,
It's okay if not, I
Okay.
mean, I'll look it up in the
the
back.
AWA, let me look up on, I'm not sure. Also, some transfers out for the utility fund. We did lower the transfer to the general fund, but we did increase the transfer to the debt service fund to cover more of their debt. It's not all of their debt, but it is a greater portion. And we also transferred out to a utility construction fund, $150,000. That was to set aside some money for this new lead and copper rule, just in case we need some
Oh,
money
yes.
for
We
that.
got
We'd
that.
like to set aside some money for that.
For what, I'm
Oh,
sorry?
good,
It's
Lead
the
and
lead and
copper?
copper.
Oh,
yes. Council,
Oh,
any?
yes. And for the AWA, it's the 2021 Unlimited Tax and Revenue Refunding Bond.
2021,
Unlimited tax
Okay.
and revenue refunding bond.
thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. No other questions, council? We'll move on.
Okay, next we have the airport. The revenue streams are pretty much the same. We anticipate the RAMP grant, so I show the $50,000 for grant revenue. The fuel flow fee, just based on where we show we're going to end this year, I use the same amount for proposed. The transfer from the general fund and then the contribution from the county are half because it is supposed to be a 50-50.
Okay. Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
no, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
I'm good.
Mr.
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
Nothing.
No.
Okay.
So can you explain to me, we went from, on the revised to 77 and then now to 177,000 on the revenue for intergovernmental. Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
I'm sorry, which page
Oh,
are
I
you?
thought Mr.
She's right here? Oh, yes. So if we go to the next page, you'll notice we did include one new employee, so an airport manager, so that'll increase the expenses.
So we're gonna officially have a airport manager now?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, yes,
Is that what you're?
my intentions are to assign Ms. Barbara Reeves as the airport manager. And, yeah, I mean, we haven't had that funded, and one of the things is that we all work in that position between Barbara and myself, Gabriel, we're all doing that, but the county's supposed to fund half of that. And so we're kind of doing it for free, and we're not getting paid for that, so we're incorporating that in our budget to be able to account for that properly also, and the work that gets done.
But I think what she was asking, you were asking about the revenues, though, right?
Yeah.
She was asking about the revenues, the jump in
there's-
100,000
So,
revenues.
so
There's
it
two.
increases
It'll be their
There'll be-
because,
yes.
contribution.
since we
50
have
from that,
more
50 from
expenses,
grant.
we
Right.
split it, so their contribution will be more.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for answering that. And then,
So, for the expenses for the airport fund, there's not too much of a change. The main one is the new position. We also budgeted for the ramp grant like we usually do every year, so that's about the same. There's not too much else for this fund.
okay. Council, any
I think I
questions?
wasn't sure, so I just put it on.
Miss, Mr. Chris?
Did we pulled her, the shifting of the salaries will actually take place once you actually get the approval of the budget, but we're budgeting a full 80 here, and did we budget it also over here for the position that she currently holds?
It's still budgeted,
Yes.
yeah, and fully budgeted there.
On both sides?
Yeah. And
So
then-
there'll be an adjustment coming future on?
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably have we'll have an adjustment, because once I've worked that out on the staffing side.
Yes.
Then, it'll be an adjustment, or it'll just be there as,
Yeah.
extra salary reserve or something like that.
Okay. Just curious, because we got to look for 300,000. Be sure that we're not double booking stuff.
Give Barbara a big raise.
Yeah. That's it.
Says I'll take it.
Barbara's like, shh.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bell?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, yes.
Okay. On page 132, we have the transfers out for the airport, and we only transferred to the general fund, and I lowered that transfer. And this is just for administrative costs. And that's it for the airport fund.
Thank you. Council, no questions or any no comments? No? Okay.
Next, we have the golf course fund. You will notice some changes here. This is due to the city running the snack bar now. So on the revenue side, I do show snack bar sales, and it's to offset the cost of some new employees that we intend to hire for the snack bar, plus the inventory to be selling out of the snack bar. So with the snack bar, we added 2 full-time cooks and a part-time cook, and 2 full-time cashiers and a part-time cashier to cover just the snack bar area. We, on the expenses, we also increased their golf green supplies, their chemicals. I believe it needed a lot of work, so we started including that. We also increased just their inventory of items to be selling. And then you'll also notice the snack bar inventory. That is food and alcohol and everything.
Council, any questions on this? Mr. Chris?
I look forward to see what it does out there. I know that I've heard great things on it moving just outside in the golf course itself, and we're picking up a bunch of tournaments and stuff like that, so we're moving forward out there, and if we can see the same inside the clubhouse, we'll be doing great. So I look forward to seeing continued efforts and progress and success.
Mr. Molina?
What are the chemicals? Just curious.
Those are herbicides, fertilizers, that are essential. Actually, the using of those chemicals, that's why we're seeing big changes on the golf course, right? Especially tees and greens.
Right.
So,
Yes.
golfers are, that's what they like. They want good greens, good tees, especially.
Sure.
And
So- so-
we're seeing big differences.
We had never used those before out there, or budgeted for it, or we
Yeah, well-
just came out of
Yes.
nowhere?
Just wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, we were-
We would contract out
We were
some stuff.
Contracting out some of that
Yeah,
at a
contracting
time,
out some of
right?
that stuff.
So now we're doing it ourselves, really?
We
And I
weren't
think
doing as
on a more
much.
regular
We weren't-
basis, too.
We also weren't doing as much, and you gotta remember, we, now that we have Jay there, he's there every single day. And so
On-site.
monitoring everything that's happening and really paying attention to the turf. And before, we didn't have somebody that was there every single day be able to do that. So it's really nice to monitor that, and keep close tabs on the turf and when it needs to be, sprayed or chemicals applied or applications of,
And we didn't have anyone in the
herbicides.
city that was licensed.
right.
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
didn't- he works under our license.
I was gonna say, now we have somebody that's actually certified.
Right.
Okay.
And Yolanda, you and Jennifer got licensed last year, right? Yeah, so we were kind of getting to this point to finally be able to do that.
Right.
Good,
Um,
good job.
We had
Thank you.
budgeted for chemicals before, but we were never able to purchase them because we didn't have the license.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know.
And that really, that's how I start my day. That's the first thing I do for probably an hour and a half.
Wow.
So, yeah, we'll see some bigger differences over the next year or two. Because it'll take a couple of growing seasons, right? It's really the only time you can actually, I mean, we should treat things pre-emergently, right? Which, it helps in two phases. Helps eliminate weeds, right?
Right.
Before they actually start blooming, right, or the germination starts. But, and actually, it's cheaper to treat it that way than once the weeds start growing, they don't start. Oh, yeah.
Can't hear you.
All right.
On the feed, he says it's very low.
Yeah, so it's just so much more efficient and cheaper to treat the weeds pre-germination, right? So that's the goal. So this fall, which probably we'll be spraying some pre-emergence maybe early October, and that'll help control the winter weeds. So then we'll treat again in late February so we can control the summer weeds. So that way, as they start germinating, the pre-emergent actually works as a barrier, so it won't allow root growth. So then that's why they die. So then we won't have to use so much herbicides, right? So we should be seeing like a lot more improvements over the next 2 growing seasons. So that's why we're already seeing a little more play. So the more play, we're gonna, generate more revenue, which is great. And we'll be getting people to come visit our community.
Okay. Actually, that's pretty reasonable considering how expensive some of those chemicals are, so.
Yeah.
It's very quick considered. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Burke? Mrs. Bowen?
Yes. First of all, I do see a difference in the golf course. It looks great. Thank you for all that, and I'm expecting, of course, everybody's expecting it to look a lot better, right? As the
Oh, yeah,
years
yeah.
go on.
Yes, absolutely.
Then you have to get up to where you
Yeah,
want it.
Right now, like, we're actually seeing a lot of people come from Hebronville,
Yes,
a lot of people from Orange Grove, Kingsville.
I've seen
'Cause,
the activity.
their golf course is not in very good shape at all, right? So golfers will travel, so the better our golf course gets, the more people we're gonna draw to our community, right?
Exactly, yes.
And, we'll be able to benefit from that because, they'll spend money there, they'll might gas up somewhere or eat at
somewhere.
our facility.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just it's a good thing. It's a good
Definitely.
thing for Alice.
I've seen the difference, I have, and I appreciate that. Real quick question on, I know we talked about chemicals, but the line item above, golf green supplies, does that coincide with your chemicals? And
Yeah,
is that
kind
part
of
of?
goes right along with it.
Okay, I just figured that much because it's went up a little bit, but that's great. Okay, well, that's it, Mayor, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions, and I just wanted to ask you.
Sure.
So on the On the snack bar, or snack, that you do anticipate having revenue that's gonna be approximately about, with, I think,
Well, I've done a
Tell
little
me.
bit of research as far as, I met with LNF. So I kind of have some anticipated numbers, right, that should generate quite a bit of profit, so, for our facility. So just with historical numbers, we should generate, the first year, we should generate at least $80,000 in profit, just from beer sales. So that's not even including food. So it should be a very positive thing for our facility, so we just gotta get it ready, you know what I mean?
okay, I just.
And those are all anticipated numbers. The 180,000 is estimated. It may not be that much, but we just need a little wiggle room there.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are there going to be renovations to the kitchen? Is that included in all this?
That's kind of what we're doing right now. We're kind of in a cleaning mode, and we're having little problems with the plumbing, so we're having that taken care of. And we also had to replace the return motor up in the exhaust.
Yep.
So we had to repair that. So that's in the process. And
Just to
then-
let you know, you'll see it on the revised, because we're hoping to do it before year end.
Okay.
So that's
gotcha.
the revised on facility repairing and
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
equipment, those numbers right there,
That's what that is.
that's what that is, because we're
Okay,
hoping to do
sorry,
it before
thank
end of
you.
year.
Yeah.
That's right. Sorry to cut
No,
it.
that's good. Thank you.
So we just want to
Okay.
get it to where everything's operational, that way we can work efficiently and, have a nice place there.
Definitely.
And I know these are all projected because it's new and we're gonna see how that goes, but I was just,
Yeah.
I did have one more.
And also we are Strixon dealers now, so at the
you're
golf
what,
shop.
I'm sorry?
We are dealers for Strixon
Oh.
equipment in Cleveland. So I think we will see some generation of income from selling equipment,
Okay.
right? So I know we've had some demo days. We've had 2 demo days, and they've been very successful for us. We've sold like 3 or 4 sets of clubs from that. And we sell a lot of golf balls now.
Right.
Gloves.
Right.
So things are trending in the right direction, not only on the course, but also internally
Okay.
inside.
Yeah, I had seen where it's, the inventory went from 30 to 180, so that's why I was kind of just
Yeah.
making sure. But I know they're all projections because we don't have true hard
We'll certainly
numbers
make
right
sure
now.
that we're moving efficiently,
And on the- on the
And
strip-
inventory is turnaround, right? So inventory is every bit of money that you spend
I
on
know.
inventory is revenue producing.
Absolutely.
The one
Yes.
thing I didn't see an increase on was bank fees, the merchant fees for using the credit card through
Yeah.
the snack bar.
Right.
There was no
Oh, yes.
increase on that.
We-
and there's gonna
it's
be a lot of
Because
transactions.
this was the end of the year, yeah, it's
Yeah,
a good
so-
point. We'll make that
Yeah, we will
adjustment.
add.
Good catch
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that there's
Yeah.
potentially, another $15,000 in
Right.
fees there
Yeah.
at 400 grand.
And
So,
we're in the process of putting in the T-Snap software, so hopefully we're gonna have a lot more interaction with our database with all our golfers, the community. So there will be more information flowing to our customers when we're having tournaments, just different events and things like that. So we just booked, we have a new tournament October the 8th. Dr. Lizondo's Foundation's having August the 20th. That one's booked, there's 30 teams, so we'll have 120 players that day. So that's a
Will we
nice
be open by
generation
then?
of revenue. What was that?
will we be open by then in the snack bar?
The
Probably
20th.
not. If you're
Couple
pushing it.
weeks.
Yeah, we're gonna be pushing it. I
Yeah.
just don't,
Snack bars?
yeah, I don't wanna open it until
No, I
it's
understand.
fully functional and, we don't want any surprises.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
One of the things also to consider that, and Jay's been selling some clubs already, but, being a dealer for some of these brands, there's nowhere in town you can get these clubs that we're selling. So as we get, 2 or 3 different brands of clubs, drivers and wedges and things of that sort, or just a full set of irons, 3 or 4 different styles or in brands, you have to go to Corpus, Edwin Watch or something to get a club like
And
that. So
actually,
here we'll have those signs.
I'm gonna also be a certified fitter for Srixon. And we're in the process of setting up an account with Callaway, which is another, very reputable brand. So we're changing a lot of phases, right? So things are good. I'm excited.
Well, we're all
not only excited
excited
for the
about-
city, but I'm excited for our golfing community, right?
There you go.
Yes. Well, I'm excited for our golf course. It's been a long time coming. It's one of our gems, and
I think so
I'm
too.
glad that we're putting some more focus and effort into that, and thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Don't forget, I need to get with you. I need to learn.
Absolutely. I've been trying to get my wife to get a women's league going,
There you go.
We do need more women golfers.
Okay, sign me up.
One thing I forgot
Sure.
to bring up is Jay had proposed a fee increase of $1, where from that dollar, 75 cents of that would go towards their capital, so they could be buying more equipment, and 25 cents would just go to their regular operating. So that is actually included in the revenue, a slight
Okay.
increase.
Okay.
I think that would be good. I mean, I think our fees are very reasonable. We're nowhere near what they're charging in Corpus. I mean, I know our facility, we still need some more improvements, right? To be able to say that, we're in the same category of golf course. We're about a year away.
But even so, having a municipal golf course that is an 18-hole for our small community is awesome. So I think it's
And
it's
actually,
great.
our surrounding communities really, they come to our facility.
So,
And,
well,
they like the fact that the grounds are improving, because they'll tell you.
yeah.
They're frequent
yeah.
enough that they see the improvement.
They see it, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've talked to some people. Question though, you've increased the day fee, or the 18-hole green fee, by the $1, but what about the annuals, the memberships? Are we looking at anything there on memberships, or, because right now they're, I was looking at one myself, and it's very reasonable.
It's very reasonable.
It's very reasonable. But by saying that, is it too reasonable, or do you think that that's somewhere we need to stay? Because, let's be honest,
Into
because,
it.
yeah, something just to look into, because I'm not trying to say that we need to gouge everybody, but if we go up by, most of the people with memberships are golfing quite a bit.
Yeah.
More than the standard
Yeah,
person.
they golf almost
And they golf
3 times a week.
Yeah, 3 times a week, and that's like $3 a week. All right, should we go up a couple bucks or two? You know what I mean? Just, small increases like that. It's not huge because we don't have a large membership base,
Yeah.
but it's just something that we need to definitely look at. If we're going to increase it on one end, do we need to increase it on the other end too? Just something to think about.
I would definitely consider that.
Well,
We should increase it.
Have a look at it and come back and let us know. It's just something to
I
think
think we need to have a junior tournament fee also. I just think we need to charge a little bit more.
about. Seize the opportunities that exist.
Yeah, I think we need to we'll present that, and then,
Have a look at it and bring that back around. I know there's some things that,
because I know like when, STPGA is having a tournament here this month, the 27th. So, we have to, because there's a lot of kids that participate, right? We probably have 60 kids out there. So, but we have to shut down the golf course.
I was going to say we
for half a day.
lose revenue.
So, yeah, we do need an adjustment. That way,
Do
for our
other-
facility, it'll be worth it to have them come and have an event at our place.
Do other facilities charge any kind of a fee for something like that?
Yeah, some of them, like, that's why they included us as one of their stopping, one of their areas to come, right? Because we give them a better price. Because like I know at Lozano and Oso, they're, they won't do that. They want to charge a regular green fee. So it's pretty expensive. So,
Well, things to consider, and
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks.
Did it?
I appreciate it. Yes, thank you.
Okay, The last fund we'll talk about today is the multi-use complex fund. On page 150, we have a breakdown of the revenue. The only revenue for this fund is just the transfer from the general fund to zero it out. We have no employees there. And on page 152, you'll see the expenses. And the only expenses we have proposed is the electricity. Again, this is just the storm recovery fee until December. We have the insurance that we pay annually, and then the $76,000 for the YMCA expenses. And that's about it for this department.
Council, any questions? Mr. Chris?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Molina?
Just had one quick question. There's supposed to be some revenue from this, from the water usage?
Yeah, I mean, we have an account set up for them.
We have an account with them, but we're working on the meters right now.
Yeah.
Apparently the meter installed needs work on, so we will be.
And they were operating, the other thing is, if they're operating at a loss, I mean, it's gonna be included in that $76,000. So,
We would just offset it
Right.
from payments out versus the
And-
water usage.
Okay, good.
There is also a transfer out of this fund, and that's just to the debt service fund to pay a portion of their debt.
Mr. Burke, do you have any other questions? No. Mrs. Brown?
Oh, no, thank you.
No. That was just one of the questions I had on revenue, like why do we not show it? But do they give us reports
Arlene's been working on them.
on the water
on,
park
getting their-
revenues and?
yeah.
Their balance sheets and everything, we just show, because until they show
Right.
a profit, we don't see anything.
Okay. Do we have something as far as hours of operation and something that they're to be open and?
Yes, it was in this last contract.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can kind of compare that to what they're, okay. All right.
Okay, explain that to me again, because I'm dumb right now.
Yeah, the
On the
$76,000.
metering thing, you know.
On the meter?
Isn't that separate from the 76,000 that we're giving them?
Well, that's part, I mean, if they have to pay a water usage fee, which, I mean, we've been having the metering issues out there.
Right, we've had a
Trying
meter
to
issue.
get the right meter for them. But if they're operating at a loss, they're not gonna pay that amount because they're gonna take it from our $76,000 that we're giving them to us out for the make-whole agreement, the make-whole portion of that. And they have been operating at a loss. Now, this summer has been, I think it's been better for them, and we'll have a whole full, they had, since, you know, this agreement took place a couple of years ago with COVID hitting, changed everything out there also. This is gonna be a good year as far as getting a true number for where they're gonna be. Now, we were asking for, we're supposed to get financial statements, we were asking for them, we've gotten them a couple of times, and Arlene's been on them on that here recently to make sure that, you know, they're accounting for it properly so we can, you know, pay what we need to pay. And that's gonna be something that we're gonna be real strict on moving forward, because this is a true kind of full year for them as far as our fiscal year.
Actual usage.
Also.
So for simplicity's sake, what I think Mike's trying to say is if they use $1,000 a month in water, they're gonna knock that 12,000 off of the 76 we're gonna pay them. So we only end up paying them 64. Because it's instead of writing them a check for them to write us a check, we're just gonna deduct it from what they owe us.
But we're not metering them right now, so we don't even know what number that is.
Yeah, so, but that's what
Yeah, we're working on it with Joe and his team right now.
have it up and running by October?
Yes.
All right.
We were on delays because of the meter that we needed.
Oh, because it's an oversized meter?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions, council? No, thank you. Okay.
Did they end up getting the, sorry, real quick, did they
The
end up getting
gas.
the gas line run?
So
It's,
Yeah, so the gas line is there, it's ready. We've been in contact with, there's Jose. Wilson Water. We're waiting on the parts. We're gonna contract that out ourselves. We got some estimates on converting it from propane to natural gas, and those estimates were really high, so we took it upon ourselves to get the quotes and get the parts we needed. And we're waiting on those parts to come in, and then we'll contract with a master plumber to go install the orifices and the valves. The pool heater has 2 valves and 6 orifices, and then so we're buying those. We were at $480 for all that. The pool heater, the heaters for the gas heaters to heat the facility inside, Jose went out there and found all of them in a 5-gallon container, so we don't need to purchase any equipment on that. We just have to get somebody to go and change out the orifices and get those running. The only thing that we in question that we're still going to work on is the hot water heater. They have 2 100-gallon hot water heaters, and those are the only things left that we really haven't worked on. But the gas is there. CenterPoint Energy ran it. We're ready. Once we get those parts in, we'll have somebody go out there and do the conversion.
And then the last question, our statement from Mike, just so that we get the same kind of description we got on the landfill. We're carrying over, these 314 negative deficit. Again, this is because the same group that did the audit came in and said that we had to do the same approach. Because on the front page, we're carrying the fund balance, the fund balance deficit is a continued negative. And that is because of that?
That's just a carryover. That's a carryover.
That's a carryover from years.
From the losses because of the transfers.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a carryover, a continual carryover.
Okay. I just wanted to
And
hear
we're
that
not-
from staff.
Yeah.
Because it is a carried over negative fund balance that we need to be able to explain that we're not hitting a huge wall here every single time. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, that concludes these funds, so we're scheduled to have our third workshop next Thursday, and that's going to cover the debt service, the hotel occupancy tax, capital improvement program, and a recap of the changes that we've kind of talked about already, and that's going to take a little bit longer than today's meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be scheduled for Thursday, so that's all we have, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Okay?
Real quick though,
Yes.
some things that I would ask across the board, if you would, please. It is some of the biggest things that we're seeing across the board on a lot of these funds is an increase in fuel. Can we get what would be the total on that? You know what I mean? So we can just get an idea of some of these big ticket items that we can't avoid moving forward that are causing these giant increases, because 15,000 here, 20,000 here, 100,000, you know what I mean? Like, they hit real hard, and I'd like to get a total on that. One of the smaller ones is now we're adding actual internet as opposed to having free internet. $3,000 a fund adds up, when and again, these are smaller numbers, but we have to look, what's causing this $300,000 increase. I know we moved over $100,000 just in case we need it for this and just in case we need it for that. And those are all fine and dandy, but where else is that $300,000 coming from? And it's coming from things like this. So just some totals on what you think are some of those bigger players across the board, so that we can present that and talk about that next Thursday too, so that the general public has an idea saying, oh, well, that 7,000 or that 10,000 doesn't really mean anything. Well, when it's across all the funds, it really does mean something. You know what I mean? So small ticket items actually add up to quite a bit when you add them all together. So just that. And then I'll get with you on this other one because it's not that big of a deal.
And just to touch on, you said your free internet, just to be clear.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, when we had it, when it was working, yeah, it's free, we weren't paying anything for it, but it wasn't always working. So.
And that's a point that we needed to make also, and we made it before, is that, now are we looking at that contract and stuff like that?
Right.
Free internet isn't worth it if it's obviously not working right.
Right.
They gave me a car. Yeah, well, it's a 1930s Pinto that doesn't work. So, doesn't mean anything because they gave me a car. You know what I mean? So, all right. That was it, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have first and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you so much. Thank you, staff. I appreciate
thank
it.
Good job, staff.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, I'd say not for more.
Odie.
Been looking at
Barbecue.
for both.
Odie.